Welcome back to ABCNews.com's Top Line. We're joined now by George Stephanopoulos, joining us by telephone, Mr. Bottom Line himself. And George, busy.
That blog, David, before we go on. That was something.
We're all about that, exactly. ABCNews.com. George, busy week, obviously, for the White House. Next week is going to be critical as we look toward the big healthcare speech on Wednesday. In advance of that, a lot of talk about these negotiations with Olympia Snowe around a trigger option. What's the White House play here? Do they think this is something that could actually move votes?
I think they're hoping it is. I mean, I think they're hoping it's something that the progressives who are saying that they're not going to vote for a bill without a public option will accept. Now, there seems to be some disagreement over that. Congressman Anthony Weiner, one of the top supporters of a public option, seemed to indicate that he could buy into something like this, but others have resisted that. I don't think the president has that much of an option, though it is going to be interesting to see just how far he goes and how he draws the line on Tuesday. We know that he can't get a full public option through the Senate right now. The votes simply are not there. The question is, when is he going to take the poison? How is he going to put this to rest?
And George, when we get the economic news that we get today, do the Republicans, do you sense, get some traction in saying this is precisely an argument for at least an incremental approach to health care?
Well, I think the economic news you got over the course of the summer, the deficit numbers that came in August, this number today, although I have to say, this could have been worse. I mean, right. had this unemployment report hit 10%, I think all bets would have been off. I think the chances that the president would have been able to get anything would have been significantly diminished. You had some relatively good news on the fact that the number of jobs lost was a little bit better than expected. The unemployment rate did pop way up, but it didn't hit that toxic 10% mark. So all of the pressures are moving towards a smaller, scaled-down plan. I think this does add to it.
Is the Finance Committee negotiations, the Gang of Six that's going on over there, is that still relevant to this discussion, or should we still be watching pretty closely what they're doing?
I just sent a couple of emails to Capitol Hill staffers to try to find out what happened this morning, just kind of out of personal interest. I'm not sure. Unless they come up with a real surprise breakthrough. No. I mean, I think, again, that's sort of like the public option. Now you're just trying to see how it unwinds. No one's really expecting anything to come out of it, which, of course, does mean if they do, then it could be earth-shaking.
So, George, set the table for us for Wednesday with the big speech, the joint session. What does he have to accomplish in that speech?
I think people have to come out of it knowing he has a plan, knowing what's in that plan. I think he's got to get conservatives and moderates in his own party, give them the opportunity to give him a second look, and I think to get there, and this is something I know that's being debated inside the White House, I think it would be a good idea. I think rhetorically, he's got to come out and say something to the effect of, "I know a lot of people are concerned about the fact that we were trying to go too far, too fast. I hear you. We hear you." I think there has to be some give in this speech, some concession, and I'm not sure the White House is going to do that, but I think it would help.
So, George, tee us up for your show on Sunday. You've got a good lineup all as this healthcare debate continues.
We have got a full lineup. Yeah, we're going to be talking about all this. We have an exclusive interview with Robert Gibbs right at the top. Then we're going to move to other exclusives. Robert Dole and Tom Daschle, two former Senate Majority Leaders working on a healthcare compromise. They're going to be joined by two members of their respective parties who are pushing for harder lines. Maxine Waters for the Democrats, Mike Pence for the Republicans. And then on our roundtable this Sunday, boy, George Will has been in the middle of everything this week. Threw a couple of cluster bombs into the war debates with columns on both Afghanistan and Iraq calling for pullouts. He's going to be joined by David Sanger of the New York Times, Katrina vanden Heuvel of The Nation, and former Bush pollster Matthew Dowd.
Hey, George, quickly before we let you go, speaking of Afghanistan, we read today in the New York Times, which has been reported before, but there seems to be this Biden-Clinton, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton divide in the approach to Afghanistan. What more do we know about that, and are we going to see more of that?
I think we could. I mean, I think there's a real tussle going on inside the administration right now, and it is absolutely no secret that Vice President Biden, from the very beginning of this year, has been urging his colleagues to go slow on more troops, not to add more troops to Afghanistan. He believes in a minimal presence, a smaller footprint right now. Hillary Clinton's on the other side. The key question is, where's Robert Gates?
That is the key question. He gave a briefing yesterday with a little hint he was okay, but we will continue to watch that. George Stephanopoulos, thank you, as always, for joining us. We appreciate it. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Be sure to tune in to George Stephanopoulos on Sunday morning with This Week. For my colleague Rick Klein and myself, be sure to click us on again Tuesday. Have a happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. Take care.